Alright guys, so we'll jump into our after hours review here. Once again, had a little bit of a problem there with the microphone earlier, but nonetheless we'll get right back into it. Big picture here, guys. First thing I want to talk about is the S&P 500, excuse me, trading below the 200-day. So opened up well below the 200-day moving average today. And for the time being, we are, we're below a pretty key level. And we have to go all the way back to early 2016. Excuse me. Early 2016 to see the last time that the SPY traded under the 200-day moving average for an extended period of time. So we're at a pretty interesting, standpoint in the market right now. Take a look at the Qs, which also opened up well below the 200 today. However, they made a bit of a recovery and ended up closing above the 200. Now, the one thing I want to point out here is that it made that recovery on some pretty lame volume. Overall, it wasn't really, a huge day of buying. Though it moved higher and did close above the 200, we didn't see, that rush of buyers returning to the market. Netflix, little bit of buying came in today. Again, we're looking at barely just above average volume coming in for Netflix after, again, gapping down all the way here this morning to that level of support and closed just above the 200. So two potential trades I want to talk to you guys about that I'm going to personally be looking for in Netflix. One being, should we open above the 200? And the second trade being, should we open / fall below the 200. So let's talk about trade number one. Should Netflix open up tomorrow somewhere in this range, really anywhere above the 200-day, we can wait a bit, let things stabilize, and if it looks like it's holding above the 200, we can look to take a position to the long side. You look at these days over here, opened up above the 200, opened up above the 200. Both of those days were opportunities where you could have, taken a position long that day or that day. And what you're looking for is just a quick move back to the upside. Not the beginning of a huge rally, but a move away from the 200 to some extent. Looking here at Netflix, should we get trade number one tomorrow? Should it open above the 200-day moving average and I take a position, my stop on that trade is then going to become a break below the 200-day moving average. So I'll add that note in case you guys want to screenshot this, but should it open above the 200 and I go long, stop will be on a drop below the 200. We're basing our trade on the 200 being support. Now that Netflix has closed above that level, should that level of quote-unquote support fail, we're going to hop out. So that's the first thing we want to take a look at, guys. The second trade. If we do open up tomorrow and immediately begin to fade and fall below the 200, or if we just open up below the 200 as a general statement, I'll be looking to go short Netflix, then using the 200 as my level of resistance. So if we trade below the 200 tomorrow, either on a pullback, a fade, or we open below that level, going to look to put on a short position, potentially buy some puts, and stop will be on a break above the 200. Now, if I'm going short Netflix below the 200-day moving average, my assumption is that, my reasoning or the whole theory of this trade is that it's going to trade below that level. If at any point it makes a strong move back above the 200, I need to accept that my trade was wrong, take a small loss, and move on. So we'll talk more about this tomorrow morning, but there's two potential trades for Netflix. Another individual name I want to point out here is Apple. Apple is looking really impressive right now, guys, on a bigger picture time frame as well as on the hourly chart. And here's why. Take a look at the Qs, which Apple is a big part of, and big time sell-off in the Qs as of late. A lot of volatility, a lot of damage done. But if we take a look here at Apple has pretty much just been trading sideways in a really nice fashion on relatively low volume. This is something we call a squeeze, and right now what we have is a squeeze for Apple on, the hourly chart. So take a flip over here on the 60-minute chart. and we're kind of just trading here in this tight range. So what I'm looking for in Apple, guys, the reason, Apple is number one on my watch list right now is because it has held up so well in all of this damage. So just looking here at the hourly time frame, which again, we're just kind of being bounced back and forth in this range. Clear level of resistance here, guys, right around that 223.35 level. Take a look here. Every time Apple has tried to come up to that level, to the very penny, it has just gotten pushed back. So with that being said, intraday on our hourly time frame, we have a clear level of resistance. On the bigger picture, we have a beautiful setup here on the daily chart. This is a very strong chart right now, given the overall environment. With that being said, I am dying to get a nice follow the money opportunity into Apple here. So what I'll be looking for on that trade, guys, potentially, first of all, is a break above this level of resistance on the hourly chart. If we break above that level, I'll look to take, a piece of my position. Let's see, theoretically, I'm looking to put $10,000 into this Apple trade. The first $5,000 will get put on should we break above that level of resistance at any point tomorrow. If that does happen, Apple trades up here, I take my position, my stop is then going to be on a drop back below that level. When something is resistance and it breaks above, we then play that former level of resistance as the new support. Again, I'm going to buy Apple if it breaks above that level on nice volume. If I get a confirmation from the rest of the market as well, of course, I need to have my trading checklist with me and make sure that the big picture, the sector, and the other names are supportive. But if I take that breakout trade, guys, I'm getting the hell out if it falls back below. The whole reasoning for taking the trade is that breakout. Well, if it drops back below that level, guess what? I'm out of there. So that's where the first half of my position will come on Apple, theoretically. If we then get some nice volume and a break out of this range here on the daily chart, that's when I'll look to put on the other half of that position. Then, of course, what I'll need for that trade to work out is just a continued ramp in volume coming into Apple. So that's how I plan on playing Apple, guys. I'm first going to take my look tomorrow at the hourly chart. And if I get my big picture and sector confirmation, I'm going to look to buy Apple above this level of resistance on the hourly chart. If the volume ends up hitting the daily chart, if it's a really strong day, then I'll put on the other half of my position, follow the money, and let it ride out. So that's how I plan on playing Apple. We discussed how I plan on playing Netflix, and I still have my position here in the financials. And, again, like we talked about this morning, guys, identified that the financial sector was set to drop and open below this level of support right here. Well, we did this morning. We dropped here sharply, and, it was trading up and down all day. I took a position in puts. At one point, I had a really nice profit. Right now, I am at a very small loss, and I held this overnight. Again, what I'm basically going to do now, guys, is, here was today's level of resistance. Kind of a key level. So what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow, guys, is can we revert and trade back below this level, and I'll continue to hold my position short in the sector, or vice versa, if we see a strong break back above, this level here tomorrow, I'll take my position off most likely, call it a day, and move on to the next one. But the major focus right now, guys, is going to remain on the bigger picture of things, having that bird's eye view, and just waiting for that money to begin flowing somewhere. When it does, we're not going to be able to miss it. When big volume comes into a group and pushes those things and makes a move that we want to take a part of, we're not going to miss it. So rest assured, guys, when the profitable moves do return to the market, we're going to be all over it as a team. You guys will be all over it as individuals, just based upon us talking about it, in the morning, meeting up in the afternoon, and doing these reviews at night. We're all over the market right now. So these little things we're doing are going to continue to build on that foundation. And when the market is ripe, the things that we're doing right now is what truly pays off. So that's a bigger picture right now, guys. It was kind of a continued day of weakness across the board. We did get a little bit of a bounce, but it was a bounce on a big nothing. So we'll see if some true volume can hit the markets tomorrow, or if today's bounce was a big nothing and we continue our move to the downside below the 200-day moving average. Hope you guys have a good night. I'll talk to you in the morning.